There is a mysterious power in solitude, especially when it is chosen, not forced. In the teachings of spiritual masters like Shi Heng Yi, we are reminded that solitude is not loneliness, it is alignment. A chosen woman is not like the others. She does not chase what is popular. She does not blend in with the noise of the world. She walks alone because her path is sacred. She was not made to fit in. She was made to awaken. Her silence speaks volumes. Her steps echo purpose. Her spirit burns with clarity, discipline, and truth. The reason she walks alone is not because she is lost. It's because the crowd is going the wrong way. She understands that her energy is precious, that not everyone can walk with her, that sometimes solitude is the shield the universe gives to protect its most divine warriors, and when she walks alone, she walks with God, with spirit, with Dharma. Her journey may be quiet, but her soul is roaring with ancient wisdom. Solitude is often misunderstood by the world. To many, it seems like loneliness, exile, or even a lack of connection. But for the chosen woman, solitude is not something that happens to her. It is something she embraces. It is the sacred space where transformation begins. When a woman is chosen by life, by destiny, or by spirit, she is often pulled away from the crowd. Not because she is meant to suffer, but because she is meant to see what others cannot. This path of awakening requires silence. It requires distance from distractions and detachment from the noise that most people have grown used to. In that silence, her inner voice begins to speak louder. The voice of wisdom, of ancient memory, of spiritual truth, all of it, begins to surface when she is finally alone. This is where the awakening begins, not in the chaos of the world, but in the stillness of the soul. Think of the great spiritual figures, the sages, the saints, the warriors of truth. They all had to retreat from the world at some point. Whether in mountains, forests, monasteries, deserts, or simply their inner chambers, they found truth only after the world was quiet. The chosen woman walks the same path. Her solitude is a sign that she is being prepared. She is being stripped of illusion, distraction, and dependency so she can face the truth of who she is. And the truth is often too deep for surface-level company. The truth can't be heard in crowds, can't be taught in noise, and certainly can't be nurtured in chaos. This is why her path begins alone. It is not a punishment, but a calling. In this solitude, she cries. She reflects, she awakens, she begins to unravel the lies she was told, the roles she played, and the wounds she buried, and slowly, something sacred is born, clarity. She begins to understand her place in the universe. She senses her purpose, even if it is still unclear in form. She no longer clings to relationships that kept her small. She no longer seeks validation from people who cannot see her soul. Her solitude becomes her teacher, sharper than any book, deeper than any voice. It teaches her resilience. It teaches her alignment. It teaches her that real power is silent, and real purpose often walks alone. The awakening is subtle, but powerful. She no longer fears being alone. She learns that being alone is the place where the most powerful shifts take place, where illusions are shattered, where truth is uncovered, and where the soul finally takes the lead. She walks alone, not because she's rejected by others, but because she's being selected by the divine. Solitude, then, is not a weakness. It's the first sign that a powerful soul is beginning to rise. A chosen woman carries an energy that is not easily understood and certainly not easily matched. Her frequency, her vibration, is elevated through pain, awakening, and inner work. It is refined through spiritual trials, emotional growth, and soul, deep introspection. This refined frequency becomes her inner compass, guiding her not toward comfort or popularity, but toward truth, purpose, and alignment. Most people live on the surface, chasing stimulation, validation, and quick pleasures. They are caught in cycles of drama, distraction, and materialism. The chosen woman, however, is called to a different plane of existence. She begins to see life through a spiritual lens where every interaction has energy, every word holds intention, and every connection either elevates or drains her soul. This awareness changes everything. It transforms her relationships, her choices, her entire world. Suddenly, the conversations that once entertained her begin to feel shallow. The people she once resonated with begin to seem distant, disconnected. Not because she is better than them, but because they are no longer vibrating on the same level. She starts to crave depth, conversations that awaken, friendships that nourish, love that heals, and silence that speaks. This craving is not a phase, it's a result of her energetic shift, and it comes with a price. That price is separation. People will fall away. Old friends may not understand her anymore. Even family may feel distant, confused by her transformation. She will try at first to explain her path, to share her insights, her truths, her new vision of life, but often her words will be misunderstood, her silence will be judged, her growth will be seen as rebellion. And it is here that she faces a hard truth. Not everyone is meant to walk with her. Her frequency has outgrown the vibration of certain people, and she must honor that. If she tries to lower herself just to be accepted again, she will feel spiritually sick. She will feel disconnected, anxious, exhausted because her soul can no longer survive in spaces that don't match its growth. She learns to recognize energy before words, to sense truth before appearances. She walks into a room and can feel the heaviness, the inauthenticity, the fear others hide behind smiles. Her sensitivity increases, her awareness sharpens. She becomes a mirror, and not everyone can handle that reflection. This is why the chosen woman walks alone, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. Her vibration creates a natural boundary. People who are not ready to rise will fall away. People who are still asleep will resist her presence. People who are threatened by her peace will try to disturb it. But she no longer fights for belonging in places that require her to shrink. She honors her frequency. She honors her growth. There will be rare souls who match her vibration, not many, but a few. These are the souls who have also walked through fire, who have also died many ego deaths, who have also chosen purpose over comfort. These are the souls who will meet her not with judgment, but with recognition. Until then, she protects her energy. She walks her path. She holds her frequency steady not for approval, but for truth. There is a profound difference between merely existing and living with divine purpose. The chosen woman does not live just to survive, to follow the typical script, or to meet the expectations society has placed upon her. She is not content with simply waking up, going through routines, and checking boxes. Her soul demands more. She is not here to blend in, she is here to fulfill a sacred mission that was etched into her spirit long before she arrived in this physical world. From a young age, she may have felt different. Not necessarily better, but different. She felt things more deeply, questioned what others blindly accepted, sensed energies and truths that those around her seemed to overlook. And while this made her feel isolated at times, it was not a curse, it was a mark of her calling. Her life is not just a personal journey, it is a spiritual assignment. She is here to break generational cycles, to illuminate the path for others, to embody the light she once searched for in others. This kind of existence is not easy. When a woman is chosen for a mission, she is required to walk away from what is comfortable. She is often stripped of what is familiar so that she can be rebuilt with divine strength. Her life begins to change in dramatic ways. Relationships end, opportunities shift, her priorities evolve. This is not chaos, but recalibration. Life is aligning her with her true path. It is cutting away the distractions, the illusions, the attachments that would weigh her down. Because her mission requires her to be clear, disciplined, and aligned, she starts to see how everything that once felt like a loss was actually a redirection. The heartbreaks taught her compassion. The betrayals taught her boundaries. The silence taught her how to listen to her intuition. All of it was preparation. All of it was necessary. A woman with a mission cannot carry excess baggage, emotional, mental, or spiritual. She must travel light, but walk with power. The chosen woman is not moved by trends or public opinion. She is not here to follow what is popular. Her decisions are guided by sacred inner knowing, not social approval. She might appear quiet, even invisible to some, but behind that stillness is a soul that is burning with divine fire. She doesn't need a stage to feel significant. Her mission is her validation. Every act of service, every truth spoken, every healing she embodies, it all becomes part of the greater purpose she was born to fulfill. And this mission becomes the center of her life. It shapes how she loves, how she works, how she chooses her company. She no longer has the luxury of wasting time on things that do not serve her purpose. Her standards rise, her time becomes sacred, her heart, once scattered, becomes focused. This shift can be lonely because many won't understand the seriousness of her path. They'll think she's too intense, too focused, too distant. But that's because they don't understand that she has been entrusted with something holy. Her life is a vessel. Her body, her voice, her mind, they all become tools for the work she is here to do. She doesn't seek perfection, but devotion. Devotion to the path, devotion to truth, devotion to being who she was sent here to be. While others chase success, she seeks alignment. While others aim for comfort, she moves toward growth. Her life is not ordinary because her mission is not ordinary. She was not sent here to sleepwalk through this life. She was sent to awaken, and in doing so, awaken others. In a world that constantly demands attention, noise, and reaction, the chosen woman learns one of the most sacred lessons on her journey. Her energy is her most precious currency. While others may give it away freely to drama, distractions, and meaningless interactions, she becomes deeply intentional with where, how, and with whom she spends her energy. Why? Because her path requires clarity, and clarity cannot exist in chaos. Solitude, then, becomes not just a preference, it becomes a spiritual necessity. The more she awakens, the more sensitive she becomes to energy. She can walk into a room and feel whether it's heavy, agitated, or clear. She can hear beyond words, sensing the real intention behind someone's tone. She can read between the lines, feel the tension behind the smile, and recognize whether someone's presence is nourishing or depleting her soul. This sensitivity is not weakness, it is awareness, and with awareness comes responsibility. She begins to understand that not all connection is healthy, not all conversations are healing, not all invitations deserve a yes. Some people may appear kind but carry jealousy. Some situations may seem exciting but pull her away from her inner peace. She notices that even short exchanges with the wrong energy can throw her off for hours, sometimes days. She feels the drain, the misalignment, the anxiety that lingers, and she knows that her soul cannot afford to be in those spaces anymore. So she withdraws, not out of arrogance, but out of self-preservation. Not because she thinks she's above others, but because she's finally learning to honor her own vibration. Solitude becomes her sanctuary, a space where she can detox her mind, cleanse her spirit, and return to center. In her solitude, she doesn't feel empty, she feels whole. There is no pretending, no explaining, no filtering. Just her breath, her truth, and the divine. This sacred solitude allows her to ground herself again and again. It becomes the place where she recharges, receives intuitive guidance, and reconnects with her mission. It's where she processes emotions that the world tells her to suppress. It's where she sheds layers of conditioning, listens to her inner child, and hears the whisper of her soul that says, "Keep going, you're on the right path." Without this protected space, she would be at risk of losing herself in the noise of the world. And protecting her energy isn't just about saying no to others. It's also about saying yes to herself, to her rituals, to her rest, to her dreams. It's about setting boundaries without guilt, choosing peace over people, pleasing and embracing quiet over chaos. As she grows spiritually, she understands that energy is not something she has an unlimited supply of. Every distraction, every meaningless interaction, every moment spent in misalignment is a withdrawal from her sacred bank of life force. This is why the chosen woman doesn't allow everyone access to her world. She doesn't explain herself to those who aren't listening. She doesn't overextend to prove her worth. Her presence is valuable. Her space is sacred, and the solitude she keeps is not a wall, it's a filter, a spiritual sieve that allows only what is true, loving, and aligned to come through. Even when others question her distance or mislabel her solitude as antisocial or distant, she does not waver. Because she knows only in protecting her energy can she preserve her purpose. She does not isolate to hide, she isolates to heal, restore, and prepare. Every moment in solitude is an act of spiritual self-respect. And through that respect, her power only deepens. In a world where many are led by their impulses, cravings, and short-term emotions, the chosen woman moves differently. She does not make decisions based on fleeting desires. She does not allow loneliness to lead her into the wrong arms. She does not trade her peace for temporary pleasure. Why? Because she has learned often through pain that what feels good in the moment can cost her deeply in the long run. And so, she has chosen the harder, higher road, the road of discipline, discernment, and devotion. Her standards were not formed from ego, they were forged in fire. They came after betrayal, after heartbreak, after waking up one too many times feeling drained and disconnected. She knows now that settling is not a neutral act, it is a spiritual wound. It is the slow death of self-respect, and the chosen woman refuses to betray herself for convenience. She has wept in silence, picked up the pieces of her soul alone, and rebuilt herself from ashes. Her standards are not high because she expects perfection, they are high because she knows the cost of lowering them. This applies to every area of her life: relationships, friendships, environments, opportunities. In love, she no longer falls for potential. She looks for alignment. She no longer romanticizes red flags. She honors her intuition. She does not enter relationships to fill a void, but to share overflow. She knows that real love doesn't require her to shrink, to chase, or to suffer. It honors her, mirrors her truth, and amplifies her growth. Anything less is not love, it is a lesson she has already learned. In friendships, she does not tolerate gossip, competition, or superficial bonds. She craves depth, presence, and genuine soul connection. If she walks into a room and feels like she has to dim her light to be accepted, she knows it is not her room. She would rather be alone in truth than surrounded by people who do not truly see her. Her solitude has taught her that peace is better than company that drains her spirit. And so, she chooses quality over quantity, even if that means having only a few people in her sacred circle. In her purpose and professional path, she does not pursue what is easy or popular. She does not sell herself for likes, followers, or money. She is not swayed by trends. She follows her inner compass, even if it takes longer. Even if it's misunderstood. Even if it doesn't make sense to others. She measures success not by how things look, but by how they feel. If it costs her integrity, her energy, or her alignment, it's not worth the price. Her mission requires her to be selective not out of pride, but out of purpose. What sets the chosen woman apart is that she does not let desire override wisdom. She may feel the urge to indulge, to connect, to be comforted, but she pauses. She listens, she consults her higher self. She asks not, "What do I want right now?" but rather, "What will this create in my life?" That pause is her power. That awareness is her armor. She lives with intention, not impulse. This level of discipline can be lonely. It can be misunderstood. Others may call her cold, picky, or too intense. But she doesn't bend just to be liked. She doesn't compromise her truth to fit in. Because she understands that every time she lowers her standards, she dishonors her growth. And she didn't come this far, rise this high, and heal this deeply just to return to places and people who don't match her frequency. Her standards are rooted in self-love. They are a declaration that she values her time, her energy, her heart, and her purpose. She doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't beg, she becomes. And what she attracts will not be random, but a reflection of the level she refuses to fall below. As the chosen woman rises into deeper levels of awareness, healing, and spiritual alignment, she begins to witness something both painful and profound: the unraveling of her former life. People begin to fall away. Long-standing relationships dissolve. Old desires lose their grip. Familiar places feel foreign. At first, it may seem like loss. It may feel like abandonment, but in truth, it is divine intervention. The universe is not punishing her, it is pruning her path. When a woman is truly chosen, when her soul is awakening to its higher calling, the universe will not allow her to stay in places that diminish her light or delay her evolution. Everything that no longer aligns with her highest vibration begins to fall away, and while this can feel confusing and even cruel in the moment, it is an essential part of her transformation. The shedding must happen before the rising. The emptying must occur before the filling. She may watch people she once loved walk away, not because they are bad, but because they've completed their chapter in her story. She may outgrow dynamics that were once her comfort zone, conversations that no longer nourish her, habits that no longer serve her, environments that no longer match her frequency. This isn't a reflection of failure, it's a reflection of expansion. The chosen woman is being called to more, and for that more to enter her life, the old must make space. The universe, in its wisdom, often removes things before she fully understands why. It may take months, even years, before the clarity comes. But in hindsight, she always sees it. The job that ended was keeping her from her true calling. The relationship that broke her heart was blocking the one that would heal her soul. The isolation she was thrown into was actually preparation for her deepest inner awakening. Everything that seemed to fall apart was, in fact, falling into alignment, and this process is not one she can control. It's not about making things last or forcing things to fit. The more she clings to what's no longer aligned, the more pain she experiences. So eventually, she learns the art of surrender. She lets go not out of weakness, but out of strength. She trusts that anything removed from her life was no longer in service to her higher path. She trusts that the absence is not a void, but a vessel being cleared for something greater. This surrender teaches her detachment, not apathy, but freedom. She no longer builds her identity around roles, people, or titles. She becomes fluid, like water, ready to flow wherever truth leads her. She walks away from what dims her, even if it once felt like home. Because home is not a person or place, home is alignment. And if something pulls her out of alignment, it is not her home anymore. The universe often whispers first subtle nudges, quiet discomfort, intuitive red flags. If she doesn't listen, the whispers become louder, a sense of heaviness, confusion, friction. If she still doesn't listen, the universe begins to move things for her. It breaks what she clings to. It closes doors she refuses to walk away from. It ends stories she wanted to keep writing, not to hurt her but to redirect her back to herself. And the chosen woman begins to see that what feels like rejection is actually protection. What feels like a breakdown is often a breakthrough. Every loss carries hidden wisdom. Every ending is coded with sacred beginnings. She realizes that the more she lets go of what no longer serves her, the more space she makes for what is meant for her to finally arrive. She no longer begs for what has left. She no longer fights to keep what tries to fall away. She blesses the lessons, honors the endings, and walks forward not empty, but clear, clear of illusion, clear of dependency, clear of everything that kept her small. Because in the clearing, she becomes capable of receiving the life her soul was always meant to live. A chosen woman is not just walking toward a destination, she is being trained, refined, and shaped for something much greater than herself, divine leadership. But leadership in the spiritual sense is not about status, popularity, or recognition. It is about presence, embodiment, and alignment, and to lead from that place of truth, she must first walk the path alone. Not as a punishment, but as a preparation, not because she's unworthy of support, but because what she is becoming cannot be built in the presence of distraction. The walk alone is a sacred rite of passage. It's the space where she begins to develop the inner infrastructure necessary to carry the weight of wisdom. Because true leadership does not begin on a platform. It begins in silence, in obscurity, in the shadows of solitude where no one sees her tears, her prayers, her doubts, or her small daily victories. It is here, in the unseen, that she learns to anchor herself in something unshakable. When the chosen woman walks alone, she's not just removing external noise, she's learning to listen to a deeper voice within. That voice becomes her compass. It guides her when there is no map. It speaks when others are silent, and it strengthens her when others would collapse. This level of inner leadership can only be cultivated in solitude, where no one is affirming her, validating her, or walking ahead of her. She must become her own guide, her own witness, her own source of clarity, and it's not easy. This is the part no one talks about: the loneliness, the uncertainty, the spiritual fatigue. She may question if she's truly on the right path. She may ache for companionship, for someone to understand her inner world, but each time she resists the urge to settle or abandon her journey, she becomes stronger. Her spiritual spine straightens, her intuition sharpens, her faith deepens. This is divine conditioning. She is being fortified from within, because the kind of leadership she is being prepared for cannot be taught by books or borrowed from others. It is earned through experience, through fire, through sacred trials that force her to rise above the mind and into the soul. When others fold under pressure, she must learn to breathe through it. When others seek approval, she must anchor in purpose. When others compromise to belong, she must walk away to remain whole. And that ability to choose integrity over comfort is what separates her from the crowd. The world doesn't need more influencers. It needs initiated women. Women who have walked through darkness and come out luminous. Women who don't speak from theory, but from lived truth. Women who can hold space for others because they've held space for themselves. This is the kind of leader she is becoming, not by following the crowd, but by walking through the wilderness of her soul alone. She is being trained to carry wisdom, not the kind that fits into a quote, but the kind that transforms lives. And to carry that kind of wisdom, she must first be emptied of everything false, performative, or reactive. Solitude becomes her mirror, showing her her ego, her wounds, her fears. She does not run from them. She faces them, integrates them, alchemizes them. In doing so, she becomes a vessel clean enough to hold the sacred. Walking alone teaches her resilience, not the kind that hardens, but the kind that expands. It shows her that she does not need the world to affirm her path. It teaches her that stillness is strength and that her silence can be more powerful than noise. She learns that leadership isn't about being followed, it's about walking so aligned with truth that others naturally awaken in her presence. She does not strive to lead. She becomes leadership through grace, through depth, through the kind of solitude that forges clarity. Her life becomes a sermon, her energy a lighthouse, her path a map for those who are still trying to remember who they are. And it is the very solitude that once felt heavy that now becomes the source of her unshakable power. So if she walks alone, do not pity her. Do not mistake her silence for sadness or her solitude for weakness. She is not lost, she is being led by something greater than logic, deeper than desire. The path of the chosen is not loud, it is not crowded, it is not easy, but it is sacred. She walks without applause, without assurance, without company, and still she walks, because her steps are not fueled by validation. They are powered by vision, a vision that was planted in her soul long before the world tried to define her. A vision that requires pruning, solitude, and discipline to blossom into its fullest form. Her walk may be lonely now, but it is never empty. With each step, she carries her ancestors, her calling, and her purpose. She is not waiting to be chosen by the world, she has already been chosen by the divine. And when the time is right, the world will recognize her not for how loudly she spoke, but for how deeply she lived. So let her walk, let her rise, let her grow in the quiet and bloom in the unknown. For the woman who walks alone today is the woman the world will one day follow, not because she asked to lead, but because she became the path.